55. Srimanga is explaining to us the planes of our consciousness. What has been said of the life world. This is what we have to read. So as soon as you are ready, we'll start.
Shall I read?
Yes, you can, but give them 1 minute to get the text. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we read the para now. So he has been explaining to us that the planes which exist in the universe are also there miniaturized in ourselves. Okay, so there is a big connection between the universe and the individual. It's like the individual can expand and become universal, and the universal condense itself and become the individual. There is a big connection between the two. Everything that is there in the universe is there in human beings, and that's why we can become universal also in consciousness. Right up to the subtle physical, even the subtle physical can expand and become as far as possible universal. Remember the interesting thing that Mother said about Srimdo's aura? His aura had become so vast that she could feel it several miles in the sea when she was coming from Colombo to Pondicherry. So, yes, Shilpa, you said you will read. Read. What has been said of the life world?
What has been said of the life world applies with the necessary difference still higher planes of the cosmic existence. For beyond that is a mental plane, a world of mental existence in which neither life nor matter, but mind is the first determinant. Mind there is no determined by material conditions or by the life force, but itself determines and use them for its own satisfaction. Their mind, that is to say, the physical and the intellectual being, is free in a certain sense, free at least to satisfy and fulfill itself in a way hardly conceivable to our body bound and life bound mentality. For the Purusha, there is a pure mental being, and his relation with Prakriti are determined by that purer mentality. Nature, there is the mental rather than vital and physical. Both the life world and indirectly the material are a projection from that, the result of certain tendencies of the mental being, which have sought a field, condition, and arrangement of harmonies proper to themselves. And the phenomena of mind in this world may be say to be a result of the pressure of that plane, first on the life world and then on life in the material existence. By its modification in the life world, it creates in us the desire mind. In its own right, it awakes in us the purer powers of our physical and intellectual existence. But our surface mentality is only a secondary result of a larger subliminal mentality whose proper seat is the mental plane. This world of mental existence also is constantly acting upon us, and our world has its powers and its being is related to us through our mental body. There we find the physical and mental heavens to which the Purusha can ascend when it drops this physical body and can there sojourn till the impulse to terrestrial existence again draws it down. Here too are many planes, the lowest converging upon the melting into the world below, the highest at the heights of the mind power into the worlds of the more spiritual existence.
Okay, it's quite a para, and he has been explaining the planes of our consciousness. He has started with the physical world, and then before we proceed, I must tell you one thing. In the involution and the evolution, in the involution, the universal planes of existence, Satchidananda, Supermind, mind, life, body, these seven planes are pure in there, is like a staircase. They do mix one into the other, but yet you can conceive of them as a staircase. And on each level of the stairs, the world is pure in itself. This is the one side. You can think of it as the one side. One side means you can, let us say the left side. But on the right side also these physical worlds are there, and that is the evolution. But in the evolution, you are climbing back from the physical to the vital to the mental and upwards. So there is a mixture. These planes are all not mixed. They are they are mixed. So there are the pure planes on one side, and you see double ladders in the six. Okay, so keep that in mind. So here what he's describing is the planes pure in that each one. So when he's saying in the physical world, the physical is the most dominant. Although the other worlds are also involved in it, but the laws of the physical world hold their sway over the others. The life does not have such, it is suppressed. Life and mind and even supermind, they are all suppressed and kept under the control of the physical. Then when you come to the vital, that he has described, the vital is the desire mind. That's what he is describing, that's what we will read today. So there, the life is the most prominent. Okay? Matter is influencing life, but it has not got that much of importance. Nor mind also. Mind also is there, but life is the most important. And when you go to the mental world, again the mind is the most important, and the others are subordinate or subjugated, if you want, to the mental laws. So, having said this, we start reading the each one. By the way, Shilpa, you must be very careful to distinguish between physical and psychical. Okay, so you must. Psychical is the opposite of physical. Okay. So, we start reading the paragraph, beginning with what has been said of the life world. So, what has been said of the life world? That the most important thing is the prana, and that is the one that is most important. So, what has been said of the life world applies with the necessary differences to the still higher planes of the cosmic existence. In other words, when you go to the mental world, the mental principle, the knowledge aspect, okay, that is the most, the sattva aspect is the most prominent, and the others are there involved in it, but not to such an extent, they are subordinate. For beyond that is a mental plane, a world of mental existence in which neither life nor matter, but mind is the first determinant. It is that which controls the others. Okay? Mind there is not determined by material conditions or by the life force, but itself determines and uses them for its own satisfaction. So he is describing the mind plane, universal mind plane, where mind is the most dominant aspect, with the others there as companions or even servants if you want. Okay, so mind is the king there, and the others, the life and the mind also are there all involved, but they are there in a lesser degree. You can put it that way. Mind is there not determined by material conditions or by the life force, but itself determines and uses them for its own satisfaction. There, mind, that is to say, the psychical. Here, when he is using the word psychical, he is not referring to the psychic being, he is referring to the psychological. Okay? That is to say, the psychical and the intellectual being. The psychical and the intellectual being is free in a certain sense. Okay? In a certain sense, because the others are also present there in the mind plane. Free at least to satisfy and fulfill itself in a way hardly conceivable to a body-bound and life-bound mentality. When we are in the physical body, the mind is there to a certain extent, but the mind is controlled by the physical. That's our brain. No? So when the soul escapes from the physical body, it is not controlled by the brain. It rises to the plane of consciousness, which is the pure mind. So there it is no more determined, and that's why the law of karma also does not affect it. You are free from the influences of the physical and the vital. That's what it means. But when you are there, immersed in your body, the soul is there, then you are bound to, the mind is bound to matter and life also is bound to matter. So, he is using the body bound and life bound mentality. For the Purusha there is the pure mental being without the mixture of the others. Even if there is a mixture, they are relative, they are subordinate to the principle of mind. And his relations with Prakriti are determined by the purer mentality. So, the relation with Prakriti, there is a Purusha, mental Purusha, and there is a mental Prakriti also. The nature of the mind is mental, the capacity to think. Okay, that's a Prakriti. So, there, what he's saying, there, the relation changes. Okay? That's what he's saying. And he has told you already that each plane of consciousness you can define by the relation between Purusha and Prakriti. They are always together, and there is, at the lowest level, Prakriti is dominant, Purusha is sleeping inside. As you keep rising slowly up to the self, okay, then the Purusha becomes dominant and Prakriti becomes less. It becomes its, if you want to subordinate or a slave to mentality. It is there. It's not that it is not there, but it is held back. Okay. So they are opposite to each other, inversely proportional to each other, you can say. Okay. If you want to put it more clearly and in a very gross and crude manner, you can say that in matter, the influence of matter is 99.9% and the influence of other things are all 0.001%. And as it keeps coming up, the proportion changes. Okay. And when you come to the mind is more than the, maybe not 99.9, but the others are involved, but less. They are subjugated to the principle of mind. In the self, the consciousness, the mental Purusha becomes dominant, and Prakriti, which is the physical and vital, is less. It becomes almost zero. There is no movement there. And movement is Prakriti. Remember that. Chit is never moving. It is immutable. So this is the proportion that he is describing here. Purusha there means in the mental world. There is a pure mental being and his relations with Prakriti are determined by the purer mentality. This Prakriti and Purusha, you must have a clear idea. The Purusha is the personal aspect, okay? And at the highest level is the divine personal aspect. But when it keeps coming down, there are the universal planes of overmind, but there is also a Purusha consciousness in the overmind. It keeps coming down. There is a mental Purusha, there is a vital Purusha, and there is also a subtle physical Purusha. Okay? The Purusha takes on the personal aspect, and there is also the impersonal aspect. So on all the planes, Purusha and Prakriti are there, and it goes on changing its character. And the character is determined by the different planes, matter, life, mind. So this Purusha and Prakriti, I think the other the descriptions are there elsewhere, but we don't need to go into that right now. But the Purusha there is a pure mental being and his relations with Prakriti are determined by the purer mentality. Nature there is mental rather than vital and physical. Both the vital, the life world and indirectly the material are a projection from that. So it is mind that creates life and life that creates matter. Downwards, in the involution, that is the order. The result of certain tendencies of the mental being which have sought a field, conditions, and arrangement of harmonies proper to themselves. So, mind plane of consciousness is trying to realize its own knowledge in the conditions of life and even worse in the conditions of matter. That's what he's saying. Because it doesn't want to remain unrepresented in the other planes of consciousness, which have sought a field, conditions, and arrangement of harmonies proper to themselves. And the phenomena of mind in this world may be said to be a result of the pressure of that plane first on the life world and then on life in the material existence. This also we discussed the other day, that the higher planes of consciousness, life is pressing, there is a pressure of the life world on matter, so that the involved life in matter is pushed up. So there are two pressures always. One is an evolutionary pressure, which is very slow and um, less forceful, because matter is dominant, life is there in it, but life is kept under the foot of matter. So its pressure to arise is very slow. So to speed up that, there is a pressure from above. Okay. So evolution is the result of these two, pressure from below and the pressure from above. The two together combine and create the evolutionary progress. There, this world of mental existence is constantly acting upon us, and our world has its powers and its beings. No, wait, I think I skipped, no? Yeah, okay, I read from, and then on line limit. By its modification in the life world, it creates in us the desire mind. Am I reading in the correct place? I think so. The result of certain phenomena. The phenomena of mind in this world may be said to be the result of the pressure of that plane first on the life world and then on life in the material existence. By its modification, when life comes into matter, it is modified and it becomes a living creature. Okay, that's the result of the modification. It creates in us the desire mind. Mind the desire mind is a vital mind. Okay? There is no mind in matter. There is mind, but it is absolutely dominated. Then when the life comes out, there is a desire, there is the life is desire. And when mind comes in, there are three planes of consciousness in the mind. There is a physical mind, and there is a mental mind, vital mind, and a pure mental mind. So he is talking of the desire mind, which is the vital mind at the vital level. Your mind has also entered into the vital, and it creates a desire mind. In its own right, it awakes in us the pure powers of our psychical and intellectual existence. By the way, in the letters, okay, when life is interacting with matter, does it create only one level? The physical vital? No. Srivastava says that there is a physical vital and there is also a vital physical. Okay. When you come to mind, there is the vital mind and there is also a mind life. So there are so many grades. Okay. So these complications, to simplify it, you just say that okay, there is a combination of mind and vital. But in that, there is mind is more dominant, then it's a mental life. And if vital is more dominant, then it's a vital mind. So I'm just adding this because you can see how complicated the human nature is. So, by its modification, all these things are modified. Life is modified in matter, life is in life, matter is modified, and in mind, life is modified and matter also is modified. Matter is modified in line by the brain. Okay. Matter modified in the mind is brain. Matter modified in life are the nerves. Okay. Just think about it. It's very interesting what Sylvia is saying. Okay. There is a modification that takes place. The principle of matter in life is expressed through the nerves. If the nerves are not there, you will not experience it. Then, what about matter in the mental world? It's the brain. If the brain is not there, you will not be able to think. Okay. So, but brain matter is different from ordinary matter. It's got brain, it's got intellect in it, it's also got the capacity to think. And it is matter. So, you can see how complicated it is. So, now, uh, by its modification in the life world, it creates in us a desirement. In its own right, it awakes in us the pure powers of our psychical and intellectual existence. Here he is using the word psychical for the vital. But our surface mentality is only a secondary result of a larger subliminal mentality whose proper seat is the mental plane. So, as I told you in the beginning itself, there is a huge, vast, universal mental plane. There, the character of the mind is mainly sattvic and it is open to knowledge. Okay. But then that plane creates a individual mind. So this phenomena appears at all the levels. At the physical level, huge universal matter is creating your body. In the life level, huge prana plane of consciousness, vast, impersonal, universal prana plane of existence is creating your individual vital. Exactly in the same way, it goes on. Every universal plane above is creating an individual form. Okay? Even at the highest level, God is universal, but He creates individual souls. Okay? So this is how you have to see it. So this world of mental existence, now is a very interesting statement. This world of mental existence is constantly acting upon us. We are not conscious of it, but they are acting upon us. The mind plane of consciousness, and our word means the physical world, has its powers and its beings. So, in the life world, as we said, there are small elements, elemental beings, gnomes, elves, and all. In the mind plane, there are the Gandharvas, the Kinnaras. In Europe, they call them angels, okay, beings of light. Okay. And also, we know that Indra has his attendants. Okay, they are all real. Huh? Kubera has his attendants. Shiva also has his attendants. These are all semi-divine creatures and they are all living in the mental plane. Okay. Even the Apsaras, they also live in that plane. Then you go even higher up, then they are the gods. The gods are in the overmind plane of consciousness. So, and they are real. That's what Srindu is saying. This world of mental illness is constantly acting upon us, and our world has its powers and its beings, is related to us through our mental body. There we find the psychical and mental heavens to which the Purusha can ascend. Our individual being, the individual soul can ascend to them when it drops this physical body and can there sojourn, live there or visit it. Sojourn is usually a visit, but it can live there also permanently if it wants. Until the impulse to terrestrial existence again draws it downward. So you can have a spiritual experience, your personal consciousness can rise to that level and remain there as long as it wants, and then comes down again into the body, because the pull of the body, the gravitational pull of the body and life is very strong. It's very easy to understand that. I'll give you 2 3 examples. The Your telephone rings, then your consciousness has to come down to the body to deal with it. Your mother calls you for dinner, okay? The doorbell rings. These are all the things that force you to come down again, okay? That's what Yogi is saying, okay? And in fact, in one place, in a letter, even in the Life Divine, he says that. He says, I was in Parabrahman consciousness for several hours, and then you come down again. Okay, so that is the, you can live there, sojourn, that's why he's using the word sojourn. Sojourn is a visit. You go for a visit there and come down again. But after death, okay, you can live there permanently if you want. You have a choice. The soul has a choice. Now, I've lost the page, I'm getting back the page, just 1 second. 4. What was the page? 455, no? Sorry, just 1 second. Yeah, 455, just 1 second. Yeah, I've got it. Okay. So the computer jumps sometimes. All right. So he's saying all these worlds are inhabited. Don't think that they are only impersonal planes of consciousness. They are inhabited by beings. But it's this world of mental is constantly acting upon us. Like we read. There we find the psychical and mental heavens to which the Purusha can ascend when it drops this physical body and can there sojourn till the impulse to terrestrial existence again draws it downward. By the way, dropping this body can be done in two ways, temporarily as well as permanently. When it is done permanently, the body is dead and you don't come back. But when you drop it temporarily, the heart continues to beat, the breathing also continues, but you are not there in it. Okay? So this is something that many young children also don't understand. They feel that in death it's the soul that has gone out. It's not true. The death occurs when the vital being goes out. When the vitality goes out, then there is death. The soul can go out even while the body is living. In fact, that's what happens most of the time. Even in your sleep, most often you are going out of your body. You are not conscious of it, but that's what happens. There is a very interesting incident that happened in the ashram. There was one gentleman who used to teach us. He was a very fine gentleman. But he was in the hospital, he was not well. Then one day he passed away. Okay. And then they went to tell mother, and mother, this gentleman has passed away. I won't tell you the name because the children are still living. Okay, they are all very old now, but they are still living. So they may not like this to be told. That's why I'm not telling you the name. But they came and told mother, the mother, such and such gentleman has passed away in the hospital. Mother said, I know. His soul came to me 2 days ago. Okay, so when the soul goes out, the body doesn't die. The body can continue to live. Okay, this is what often happens also in cases of drowning, and there are many. I know of a personal incident in a family in Pondicherry, where a person had gone, the family had gone to Singapore, and the eldest brother drowned. Okay, they fished him out and revived him, but he never revived his consciousness for years and years. And they came to me and told me that we have tried all allopathy and all, but can we try homeopathy? Because he is not coming back to waking consciousness. His heart is beating, his breathing is going on, but he is not conscious at all. So probably in that case, the body is just an automatic, like an animal, it is living, but the soul has already left long ago. That also is a possibility. Okay, so keep that in mind. So there we can find the psychical and mental heavens to which the Purusha can ascend when it drops this physical body and can there sojourn till the impulse to terrestrial existence again draws it downward. Here too are many planes. The lowest converging upon and melting into the worlds below. The highest and the heights of the highest at the heights of the mind power into the worlds of a more spiritual existence. So the mind planes, when they're saying there are many mind planes. There is the over mind, there is the intuitive mind, then there is the element mind and the higher mind. And these are going upwards also and coming downwards also. Converging upon and melting into the worlds below, the highest at the heights of the mind power into the world of a more spiritual existence. It can go up and it can come down. This is what he said in the paragraph. So, similarly, now there are worlds also above the mind. And we have time now, we can read the next paragraph. These highest worlds. So, we read that now. He is not going to the spiritual planes of consciousness because he has said, in the last sentence he has said, that the mind planes can also be spiritual existence. He has used the word, the spiritual planes of consciousness. That's level 2, as we normally put it. Now he is going to talk about the highest level. So, who will read? Any one of you can read.
I have a question.
Yes, tell me.
Do each one of us have a the personal Purusha, like you have your own personal psychic being?
That's
So
right.
even that Purusha is personal.
Yes, that's what is called the jiva. Your individual soul is individual. It can become universal, but it still retains its individuality. The divine becomes each individual soul. That's a jiva. They call that the jiva. Okay? Jivatman. When it becomes a jivatman, it becomes universal, but still retains its individuality. That's right. And that individuality can be there at the physical level, at the vital level, at the mental level, at the spiritual level, even at the supramental level. So he has said that there are beings in the mental world, there are beings in the vital world. So although they have not spoken about it much, there are beings in the supramental world already. Okay. In fact, in that experience of mothers, the supramental boat, I think she mentions that. I'd have to check that again. But there are beings who already live there. Okay.
Where did you say was mother's experience of the supramental boat? I think
Ah,
Nolinida has written something.
well, mother's own experience is there in a very beautiful and clear manner.
It's in the agenda.
Agenda is there also, and in the entretien also it is there. Okay. It was in after 1956 when she had the experience of the supramental boat. And she says that she was there guiding people, seeing, screening people who are ready to go onto the supramental boat, and those who are not ready have to go back into the physical world for further training. So there also it's a very interesting thing. She said that about 2 hours she was there of of world time, because 2 hours there is no time there. But she says that suddenly I was being pulled back into the body, just like he's saying here, sojourn in the vital world until the terrestrial force pulls you down. So mother says that I started feeling the pressure to go back into my normal body consciousness, but I was resisting because I was finding that life there so interesting that I was resisting. But the clock struck 3 o'clock, and I found myself back again in my body, and but with the pure, clear memory of the experience. So it's a very interesting thing that you should read. I think if you type on the, even on the internet, if you go into the Sri Aurobindo Ashram website and type the supramental boat, mother's experience of the supramental boat, you will get the text. It's a highly interesting thing. So I recommend all of you to do that. Okay, if you have the facility of the internet, you do that. It's very interesting. She was in charge. Okay, she already has a her permanent being in the supermind. She was the one deciding who will be coming and who will not be coming. Okay. Once she told Mona that I am the supreme. Now, maybe he should not have published it because people will misunderstand this statement. Okay, but he did publish it in the book. I am the supreme, because she's just saying it's an objective fact. There's no question of ego there. But she is the divine mother with a body. Okay? So it's very, very interesting. If you say that to others who are not disciples, they will start bucking and they will say, what is this nonsense? But that's why it is not to be told to others who are not sadhaks. We should never impose ourselves on others. Okay, so we still have 8 minutes. So why not we read the next one?
Would you like me to read?
Yes, do that, Yasmin. These highest words.
These highest worlds are therefore supramental. They belong to the principle of supermind, the free, spiritual or divine intelligence, or gnosis, and to the triple spiritual principle of Sachidananda. From them, the lower worlds derive, by a sort of fall of the Purusha into certain specific or narrow conditions of the play of the soul with its nature. But these also are divided from us by no unbridged gulf. They affect us through what are called the knowledge sheath and the bliss sheath, through the causal or spiritual body, and less directly through the mental body. Nor are there secret powers absent from the workings of the vital and the material existence. Our conscious spiritual being and our intuitive mind awaken in us as a result of the pressure of these highest worlds on the mental being in life and body. But this causal body is, as we may say, little developed in the majority of men, and to live in it and to ascend to the supramental planes, as distinguished from the corresponding subplanes in the mental being, or still more, to dwell consciously upon them, is the most difficult thing of all for the human being. It can be done in the trance of samadhi, but otherwise only by a new evolution of the capacities of the individual Purusha, of which few are even willing to conceive. Yet, is that the condition of the perfect self-consciousness by which alone the Purusha can possess the full conscious control of Prakriti? For there are not even the mind, for there not even the mind determines, but the spirit freely uses the lower differentiating principles as minor terms of its essential of its existence, governed by the higher and reaching by them their own perfect capacity. That alone would be the perfect evolution of the involved and development of the undeveloped, for which the Purusha has us, as if in a wager with itself, the conditions of the greatest difficulty. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. At least
Gangadhar,
I
we
can't
can't hear
hear
you.
you.
Even I also.
Because somebody had mute. Now you can hear me.
Okay.
You can, nah? Can you hear me
Yes.
now? Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yes, now we can hear you.
yeah, I know somebody muted me. That person has gone away also. I don't know why I was muted, but now it is. I have removed the mute. So, the highest of the spiritual planes referred to above are the supramental. But I think here what he is saying is above the mind. Okay, he has not yet come to the actual superman. He is not talking of this um, the no Gnostic plane. He is talking of the above the mind. They are divine, totally free. They are the three principles of the Satchit Ananda. It is from these highest causal worlds that the lowest planes draw their nature and their characteristics. But the glory and splendor of the highest are much reduced and even apparently distorted in the representative lower nature of body, life, and mind. The supramental substance, power and consciousness and bliss become mere shadows in the lower hemisphere. But this diminution and loss is caused by the willed manifestation of the Purusha. The Purusha plunges down into the lower planes consciously for the adventure. Okay? The powers of the highest planes are available in the lower hemisphere. They are there, but they are hidden, though as a mere shadow of the original principles. Just as the tree is hidden in the seed, these highest powers, okay, Chet, Shakti, Ananda, they are all there hidden in our body, but we have to develop them. Okay. just as you develop the seed by exposing it to sunlight and giving it water and care, exactly in the same way, it has to be also, these things can be brought out from your own being by yoga. That's a process of yoga. The powers of the highest planes are available in the lower hemisphere, though as a mere shadow of the original principles. This descending Purusha sets up a playful interaction with Prakriti. It is playing with its own nature, his own companion power. Purusha and Prakriti are always there. The light, the sun is the Purusha, and the light and heat is the Prakriti. You are the Purusha, you are the soul, and your nature is the Prakriti. Just like the flower and the essence, the fragrance of the flower. Okay, there is a difference between the two, and yet they are constantly also related. So it is playing with its own Purusha, is playing with its own Prakriti. It's his companion power. These highest planes, however difficult to attain, are not impossible of ascent. Okay. The 5 sheets that are the stepping stairs to the top are: there is matter first, you call them bhu. Then there is life, which is bhuvar. Then there is mind, which is swar. Then there is knowledge aspect, vijnana. And there is bliss, which is the anandamaya. So these are the 5 planes, but Sri Aurobindo distributes them into 7 planes. Others can say even more. Mother speaks of 12 planes of consciousness. Depends on how you want to divide them. Gross world, subtle world, causal world. This also is another way of dividing, only into 3 and not into 5. Gross world, subtle world, and causal world. This is the increasingly graded subtlety as one mounts the ladder of manifestation. The highest planes press down upon the lower and awaken the latent secret powers and principles inherent in matter. Intuition, sight, hearing are released by this downward pressure. To ascend to the supramental planes is not easy. Still more difficult is it to dwell in them, to live there permanently. That can be done in samadhi, which does not translate into divine transformation of body, mind, life. In a samadhi, your consciousness rises to those planes. You remember also that experience, but the body, mind, life does not change. But if you are in a waking samadhi and you pull down the powers of the higher into the lower, there can be a corresponding change and transformation, but it is not a permanent, not a complete transformation, a subtle transformation. Your mind can become full of light, your body can become full of purity, your body can also become light, and it can even levitate, but it does not transform. The biological nature of the body still remains the same. It can change only at the supramental level. So, most humans, I'm continuing to read the summary. Most humans are not even interested, nor even aware of these higher planes. But it is only the supramental, the gnosis, that permits the Purusha to become complete master of Prakriti, only at the supramental level. It is for this tremendous purpose of divinizing the worldly life that the Purusha has plunged into the nether worlds in a self-challenging spirit. It's a challenge that it is taken up and imposed on his own manifestation the maximum difficulty for evolution to solve. This is what he's saying in this para. Okay. Next time we'll go into detail and we'll see what he's saying. So we have to. The page is. We come back now to our text. So the text is these highest worlds, 456. Yes, page 456. These highest worlds. We will redo that.
Yes.
Okay.
Au revoir, everybody, all of you.
Thank you, Rangada.
Goodbye,
Merci beaucoup.
and have a nice day, everybody.